Here is a quick hack to work tirelessly and to keep working and not get bored of working. This hack is that when you take breaks, you need to take very, very boring breaks. Usually when people take breaks, what do? They do things that are more stimulating than the work they're doing. People take breaks from sort of boring work and then they go into scrolling social media. And then they find something that is funny, something that is entertaining, some jokes, some comedy, some TikTok videos. What do you expect? If you're doing a boring task and then you immediately move into more stimulating tasks, do you think your mind would try to get you back into working? Obviously not. Because as women, we would like to find things that entertain us, things that keep us active, that brings emotion out of us. And watching videos, TikTok videos definitely does that. So a quick hack and a very good hack when you're working and you need to take a break, because you will inevitably have to take breaks when you're working. But the trick to be able to get back into work willingly without any much willpower is to take boring breaks. So what do I mean by boring breaks? Boring breaks are things like light exercises, stretching, um, meditating. These are boring breaks. They are probably more boring than whatever task you're doing. If you, let's say, for example, if you're working on your business and you're doing a sales calls and you've been calling people for like 3 hours straight, you get mentally tired, mentally exhausted, and you want to take a quick break, 15 minutes break, for example. Do not, for whatever reason, scroll on TikTok, because the minute you start scrolling on TikTok, you don't want to get back into that task. Nobody can. No matter how strong your willpower is, no matter the deadline you set for yourself for that work, you will probably spend more time that you've allocated for that break if you are doing something stimulating. But instead, if you do something boring, something monotonous like meditating is even more boring than doing any task. So naturally, the dopamine rat inside of you that wants to do something fun has no other option than to push you into working, because that seems like the only fun activity to do. And then, let's say 5 minutes into meditating, you just feel like, oh shit, this is boring as fuck. Or let's say you go stretch. Let's say you put your phone away after you take a break from what is beneficial to your life, like sales calls, but you take a 5 minutes break. And in those 5 minutes, what you're doing is meditating or you're stretching, which is also good for you. You're stretching, you're meditating, or you're reading a book, something like that, right? Within 5-10 minutes of that break, your mind is already like, okay, what are we doing now? Like, I'm bored. Your mind is already bored. So we look for the next stimulating thing, which, if you've set up your environment properly, it would be to go back to work. I've been implementing this and it works like magic. Every time I'm taking a break, I put my phone away and I do some monotonous, boring break. Like stretching. I like to stretch, so yeah, I do things like stretching, just meditating. Or another one is sitting down with your thoughts. That is like the ultimate hacks of all hacks. Sitting with your thoughts is actually criminally underrated because most people don't do it. When we don't have anything to do, we either are listening to music, scrolling TikTok, trying to do some garbage. It's just always never sitting with our thought. We as human beings has evolved into a sort of organism where we can actually sit with our thought. Whereas when you sit with your thought and you're genuinely bored, but you force yourself to sit with your thought, guess what happens? You start to get this thought that you've never even thought about, because your mind just keep going at 100 kilometer an hour and you just like shit just keep coming to your brain. And obviously there will be bad thoughts and the one that doesn't really make a lot of sense. But I guarantee you, out of 10 thoughts, one would make sense and one would be beneficial. And another hack when you get those thoughts is to actually implement them. One thing I've noticed is that our mind is like a machine. It gives us a lot of things that we might potentially need, but it's down to us to pick the few good ones, because your mind just throws information at you like, okay, whatever. It's up to you to pick the good ones. And when you pick the good ones, you have to work on them. Because when you don't work on them, you're effectively telling your mind that it doesn't need to think for you. But when you work on ideas, thoughts that comes to your mind, these train your mind to keep thinking about more things that will be beneficial to you. So it's very important to sit with your thoughts when you're taking breaks. This takes us back to taking break and being able to walk. It's like when you take break and you let yourself sit down with your thoughts, you think about better ideas, which is also some form of working, because a good visionary must be able to think ahead, must be able to strategize, must be able to plan, must be able to think. So when you're taking break from your work and you're sitting with your thoughts, you're effectively still working. And then this thought comes to your mind and you're like, oh shit, I have to do this immediately, ASAP. And then you get back to work to sort of work on the plan you have. And you still have to go back to the work you were already doing. So you just keep working. It becomes this cycle that can never stop. You just keep working and working and working and working. This is a hack. And I think every entrepreneur should utilize it. Obviously, not the ones that are up there. I mean, like starters like you and my bro. Do you understand what I mean? All right, this is a very quick rant, and that's what I wanted to share with you. The key takeaway in this video is that when you're taking a break, take boring breaks. Don't forget.